Welcome to Skeindeer Knits. My name is Ellie and I am a Norwegian living and knitting in London, and you can find me as Skeindeer on Ravelry and Instagram. Also, I now have a Ravelry group. I announced that last episode and lots of you have already joined and introduced yourself, and I think that's so much fun. So I would just encourage the rest of you to do that as well. And also, just welcome back to this podcast, those of you who have been following me for a while, and I also want to welcome those of you who are new. Though I want to mention that the production quality of this video might be just a bit lower than the usual because it's dark, it's late in the evening. I don't usually record in the evenings because I can find time in the day and that's when my flatmates are out, but because it's Christmas I'm the only one here. So I'm not that timid, like feeling weird about recording when other people are in the house. So I'm just going to do that because I'm not going to have time tomorrow, because that's going to be my last day before I'm going back to Norway for New Year's Eve on Thursday. So what are we going to cover today? Well, I'm going to cover everything I knitted in 2016. But before that I'm just going to cover things that has happened since last episode and stuff I've knitted and stuff I received for Christmas. So if you're interested in that, then do keep watching, and if not, then I guess future or past episodes might interest you more. But I'm basically just going to talk about knitting, so you know. I do want to say though, before I get into that I have been pretty terrible with responses. I have yet to reply to many messages and comments here and there, and if I haven't in a long time, like, I'm not going to be too upset if you remind me, because I really didn't mean to forget. Like, there are lots of messages I know I haven't replied to. I got open tabs and everything. I'm obsessive about replying apparently, but sometimes I've just lost that message and the stream of messages, you know. So in which case it wouldn't hurt if you just reminded me if you want to reply. Sorry, it's been a hectic couple of weeks, if not months. Not going to get into details, but hopefully you will understand and maybe just relate, because it's that time of the year where things are a bit hectic anyway, although those are not my reasons. Anyway, sorry I haven't replied, I'll get to it. I actually have a finished object, which I showed you last episode, and it's the Spindrift Shawl by Helen Stewart. Here we are. Now, this shawl is very likely to be sent to the frog pond, I'm afraid. Okay, the colours are showing up awfully because of my light conditions. This is a very, very vibrant purple, and it's looking maybe not so vibrant in this light. Maybe now it's actually not too bad. But as you can see, the big top here is just something funny is going on, and I have no idea how to rectify it. I know some of the issues, because it's tight all the way up to here, is that I've slipped the first stitch, and I really should not have done that. But that's okay. Like, it just makes it curl a little, which the original pattern already does. I've seen other projects do that. I can live with anything that's going on from here down to here, but in the beginning where it's just bending over like this, do you reckon it will block out, or should I send this darling to the frog pond? I've not blocked it yet, so as I said, that might be a solution, but I'd rather not block it if I'm just gonna frog it, because then I'm just gonna have to soak it, and that's just gonna be a whole procedure. So I'm just gonna hold this up again, give you an idea of the problem that we have going on. So to summarize, it's just that the top row is very, I say top row, these are actually the edge stitches, and they are too tight because I slipped the first stitch probably. They always end up a bit tight, especially when you have essentially 3 increased stitches per slip stitch, if that makes sense. If you made shawls, you know what I mean. I would be super grateful for any advice or opinions or like experience from you guys. I don't know what to do. Do I have to rip it out and knit it again? I love this pattern. It's the Spindrift Shawl, as I said, by Helen Stewart of the Curious Handmade podcast, and the yarn is by Third Volt Yarn, which is a very awesome yarn dyer, UK based, who I've had the pleasure of meeting, and she's lovely, and actually recommended me this pattern. And I'd also thought about using this pattern myself for this yarn, and when she was like, you should use that pattern, I was like, yeah. So I want this to be good, and the reason why I just ignore this mistake, I thought it would just be something I could fix later, and it's something I've been knitting on very persistently throughout Christmas. I didn't want to rip it out and let go or anything like that. I just wanted to finish it so I can cast on the next project. You know how it is. So it makes me a bit sad. It's otherwise very lovely though, and I'm very torn about what to do with this project. And because of this shawl, I'm embarrassed to say that I have yet to finish my Sarbu socks. So this is sock number 2. It will be finished in time. I feel very confident about that. I'll probably have some knitting time at Gatwick and on the flight and tomorrow, so doing the fairly short cuff for these shouldn't be an issue. And as I've said before, this is a Roma pattern. It's a Norwegian yarn company who released this pattern, although I'm deviating from it quite a bit. I'm just using the chart and the stitch count in a toe up sock that I'm sort of making up in my mind with a fish lips kiss heel. I'm also using a different yarn, which is Drops Fable, which is just a good cheap sock yarn. Yeah, I feel a bit embarrassed that I haven't finished this yet because I've had plenty of time, and although this is color work, it knits up really quickly. I knit color work just about as quick as I knit stocking knit, which isn't really saying much because I'm not a super quick knitter, but I usually catch a bit of speed when I knit color work because it doesn't bore me. It doesn't want me to let go of the knitting as much, so I just keep going. And I was like up to here on the first sock, I was like, this is going quickly, this is fun. And I got to the heel, and I always enjoy fish lips kiss heel. I never stop until I'm done usually because it's fun. Who knew I would say that? Knitting heels are fun. So I'm just gonna hold this up so you can see it one last time, because I'm not gonna have time to film the readily finished object, I'm afraid. So here we are. This is the last thing we're gonna see before I have to wrap it up and give it away to my dear friend. And here's the other culprit for why I haven't finished those socks, and that's this shawl, which is a complete KTF number inside number 23 copycat rip-off. I've seen other people do it as well, so I'm not alone in doing the exact same shawl and the exact same yarn. It's the Duchess of Devonshire shawl by, I think it's, I'm gonna put the name here in case I say the wrong name. I think it's that name. Might be there, I don't know. It's a lovely shawl, and I'm using Woolen Vines Volkian in the Outlander color, and it's just incredible. I don't usually like variegated yarn, and I certainly don't knit shawls much, but apparently I'm doing that now, and I think it's just because I've been so stressed out with very complicated Christmas knits that clearly aren't finished in time. And while I love complicated knitting, they're not that complicated, but still, they're not like garter stitch or stocking knit. I need something that will help me relax a bit more, and I can just knit while watching something and occupying my brain. I also like knit complicated things to occupy my brain that way, but this time I've just been more inclined to occupy my brain with something on the screen and then having my knits being more of a simpler nature. So this shawl has been growing so quickly. I cast this on, I'm holding it the wrong way. I cast this on Christmas Eve, as I've been saying for ages that I will do, and it's growing very quickly because it's got a very big stitch gauge thing. I think it's called like 17 or 18 stitches per 10 centimeters, i.e. 4 inches, which is quite a lot, so it's no wonder it's growing quickly, but it's also getting really big, and it's got a good number of stitches. And for the few pearl rows, that's a big pain, but I'm just reminding myself that at least it's not the Spindrift shawl, although I got nothing bad to say about the pattern at all. It's just I don't like purling, so if there's a shawl that allows me to purl less, I'm pretty happy about that. So this, oh, I've got so many things to say about this. I'm gonna maybe cover it in another episode where I've done more, or maybe I've finished it, you know. But yeah, awesome colorway, well done Kristen of Woolen Vine, although you're not watching, but well done, because it's really nice. And who knew that I would like variegated yarn with blue and orange? That's not something you see a lot here. So yeah, a lot of surprising things going on here. Anyway, moving on. So I want to talk about what I got for Christmas that are knitting related. I got a lot of other lovely things as well, but this is a knitting podcast. So apparently my boyfriend has informed his parents, who I was celebrating with this year, about this very podcast, and they found me some very Skeindeer specific gifts, which is amazing. And I just want to start off with the cutest part, because it's a little cactus that I can put my needles into. And I wanted to make this for myself, and I've seen the yarn hoarder do this, knit these, but this one is so tiny. So it's definitely going to be very convenient. I just keep it here so I can stuff my needles into, because God knows I keep losing my needles. Every time I'm weaving in an end, I just put my needle on the desk and the next minute it's gone. I keep buying new needles. This is the product in question. Here's some information on the back. I'm probably gonna put something in the show notes as well, but yeah, my in-laws know me, which is awesome. I mean, I'm gonna show the rest of it, you know what I mean. So they have packed everything individually, and my boyfriend took that even a step further and packed his gift individually. So first thing I get is like this, and he's been making this, what this constitute a part of, for the past few days before Christmas, and I had a fairly strong idea about what it was, and yeah, it's a homemade knitting oddie that he's made for me. It's kind of falling apart now because I've been a bit brutal with it apparently, so it's gonna glue it back together for me, but I've already used it once for a little mini skein, and I'm including in my giveaway pack because I've put a few Norwegian yarns in there, and I also thought I'd put in a sample. So it works and it's super cute. Oh, and it's falling apart. Not safe for Elise apparently, but yeah, he just made this for me. He's the best. And the other thing that he did was giving me this for it to live in, and he bought this at Loop in London. He went to Loop and bought me a Christmas present. I don't think anyone's ever done that. So, and inside, I put it inside, it was wrapped individually, there is a gift voucher for Loop. I know exactly what I'm gonna buy. I'm gonna buy Crimson Cold Lark in a specific colorway that I want to knit my Agatha cardigan for the Undersattler knit alongs. There's 7 knit alongs apparently coming up in the new year. So thank you all. It's so nice to have someone who knows me. So now, the parents, what did they give me? Well, they gave me lots, apparently that cactus, but they also gave me yarn. And I actually remember my boyfriend asking me like, oh, do you think you're gonna get yarn for Christmas? And I'm like, no, I never got yarn for Christmas. Why would I get yarn for Christmas? Nobody knows what yarn I like. So as I said, he's clearly been spreading the word about my podcast, lovely as he is. So first thing I wrap up is the most incredible thing by Countess Ablaze. Turns out her shop is nearby where my boyfriend's mom works. Also, hi Magda if you're watching. So how incredible is that? Like, I don't know anyone who would buy me this. It's so cool. And look at the red. Isn't this my red or what? So, and also this is probably her best base. I don't have that base of her yarn from before. This is 75% Blueface Leicester and 25% Marsha. I don't know how that's pronounced. But that's a fingering weight. It's got 400 meters per this 100-gram hank. And I just want to knit everything in this yarn. I want to make like jumpers and cardigans and hats and mittens and whatnot. But given I only have one skein, it's not going to be something that huge. I mean, I'm tempted to look up for a undyed skein in this from the dyer or someone else who does it, so that I can do some color work mittens, because I love this yarn. I love it so much. So anyway, moving on. We got lots of things to cover today. So the other skein that I opened from West Yorkshire Spinners, also from my boyfriend's parents. Let's get this a bit closer. Does it focus? There we are. So this is the weirdest yarn ever, and I mean that in the best of ways. So it's called 100% Wensleydale gems for whatever reason. It's West Yorkshire Spinners fleece. So it's a DK weight yarn that's made in Yorkshire. It's like purely English wool, and this fiber is super weird. Like, I'm gonna put in a picture of these sheep because they look ridiculous. I just can't. So the hairs of these animals and this yarn is so long that it kind of seems a bit drapey in a way that alpaca might be a bit drapey, but it still has that hardness and heaviness of sheep's wool. So I'm like, it's giving me a real sort of conundrum in terms of what to make with it, and I'm going through lots of options because there's only one skein, but I don't want to do anything near my neck. It doesn't feel that nice here. Don't want to do socks because it doesn't have any nylon, so I'm thinking mittens maybe, but I don't want to do color work with this because it seems just the hairs are too long. It would need to be shorter and sort of more sticky for it to be good for color work. Would be good for hats, so I'm kind of leaning towards a slouchy hat or a tam in this amazing vibrant red. It could be good for some mitts and mittens. It's not too bad against my hands at all. It's just against my neck where I'm feeling a bit sensitive, but otherwise it's soft enough to go anywhere. So if you have any suggestions for something in DK weight that would work for something that is a bit on the drapey side, it's so weird. Like, it's just kind of has a life on its own. I'm really fascinated by this fiber. So any pattern suggestions at all, if you knitted with Wensleydale, any advice or things to be like aware of, I'd be very grateful for. I'm very intrigued by this skein. And just when I thought there was enough yarn, there's no such thing as enough yarn, is it? I get this, another one by Countess Ablaze, and I need this to focus. I need this to focus. Come on, focus there. It's the most vibrant turquoise blue. That's just crazy. It's coming across as more blue than turquoise here because my light today is bad. So I'm just gonna enjoy making whatever I make with this. I might just, it's worth noting that this is the same sort of base, it looks like to me anyway. This is the same base as, say, this yarn I showed you in the last episode. So you just want to see their names and the similarity of the yarn. It's this sort of single ply merino that I also see in Hedgehog Fibers use. So if you ever want to like go across hand-dyed yarns, Hedgehog Fibers, Countess Ablaze and La Bien Amy, however you speak French, I don't know. They do the same one single ply merino base in fingering weights, so that's worth noting. I'm not going to use these together, but it's just FYI. Oh, the light here is so yellow, guys. I'm so sorry. So yeah, I don't, like I said, I don't know anyone who would have bought me this. Like, people from my family just wouldn't have gone this far and like bought me something that's just so perfect. So thank you. Did I say the name of this yarn? I didn't. It's Persia Tia Merino 100% superwash merino, fingering weight / warp ply, 100 grams, 366 meters. Okay, we're good. And today I went to the Moomin exhibition in the South Bank Centre in London and I got away with this, which is the smallest potential project bag ever. I know it's supposed to be a toiletry bag, but project bag for something very small. I don't know, I just wanted it, and it goes with my teeny tiny lipstick bag, although this one's been worn a bit, so doesn't take wear that much. I don't know what I was thinking, but I just love the Moomins. And I got these tins, which I think is like really good Notions tins, you know, for stitch markers and such. I'm probably gonna give this one away to a friend of mine who also knits, because that would be very nice, wouldn't it? I also want to show you these Christmas balls that I'm working on, because they're gonna be a present for a friend of mine, and I'm likely to make another 2 at least. But I'm also likely not to gonna be able to show you guys, so I just thought I'd mention that. That's just something I'm gonna have to make very quickly, because I apparently wait with everything until the last minute. Sorry. Right, so we have just whisked through everything really quickly, because I want to cover everything that I knitted this year, and I beat my personal record in terms of how many things I knitted any year. So just gonna give you the numbers. Laptop time. Ooh, blue light. Now we're getting the blue lights. Anyway, I knitted 46 projects this year. Some things have gone over previous years, so we're gonna get into details about that. But last year I knitted 41 things, and the year before that, 2014, I knitted only 29. Only. It's quite a lot actually. And the year before that, 42. So 46, definitely an all-time record, and I beat my record from 2013 and 2015, which were 42 and 41. So 46, you guys. So I thought we could start off by covering socks, because a lot of people in the podcasting community like socks, and maybe that will keep you here just a little bit longer. So first project was my Sarbu stockings. I've got them right here. So they took me ages, not because they are like crazy long pieces of color work. No, I finished these down to the foot relatively quickly actually. It was just the actual heel. I hated the heel of the original pattern. It's just a terrible idea, the whole construction method of just making the flap and then sort of folding it over and seaming in the bottom and then picking up stitches around. It's a terrible idea. It's uncomfortable to walk on and just So, and you have to cut your yarn even. Who wants to do that? So I just did a regular heel flap, and that way you can do, as I've seen lots of people in Ravelry do, and that's how I got the idea, carry this pattern all the way under the foot, which I think it's only a heel flap that would allow me to do that. Is it focusing? Well, I don't know if there's any point in focusing on this kind of worn stocking, but yeah. Let's give you a close-up, shall we? I'm gonna assume it's focusing now, you guys, because I can't see anything. These are the best in a cold morning where you just want to wear, oh god, I look pink now. Anyway, when I just want to wear something warm. So very happy with these. Would absolutely recommend. It's a great pattern as long as you're willing to put in a different kind of heel. And also don't recommend doing a 1x1 braid pair as I did. Stick to the 2x2, it's a better rib. So if I have any weight yarn left from other projects, I might just put that in, rip this out and do another one, because these don't really stay up unless I do that. So yeah, socks number 1, and I think they count because I did the sock part this year. So I finished those in the spring, and right after that I was completely ready to cast on another pair of socks from the same pattern booklet, also by Irma. I didn't mention I made those in Drops Fable as well as the socks I'm working on now. It's the same yarn. I'm just continuing making socks with the same stuff. But these I did in lang yarn, and these are my Sarbu Blå. I'm really regretting doing this in the night now, you guys. I just wish, well, these colours are coming up right actually. Lang yarn I bought at Loop in London. Perfectly good. It's Yawool something, I'm gonna write here, that I used. Put in some pattern alterations here and there because I wanted to, because I was inspired by the Ravelry projects, and came up really nice. And I find myself wearing these socks more and more, and they do actually wear pretty well. They don't seem to peel as much as I was fearing. They do fluff up a little, but not as much as other merino yarns, say Cascade Heritage. We'll get back to that, because those were the other socks that I made. These. And they've just created a fluff halo of epic and awesome proportions. I do not recommend using Cascade Heritage after they moved their production from Peru to China. When they were produced in Peru, from what I'm reading on Ravelry and other yarn review pages, it just really started to suck after they moved it to China. From Peru it was great, from China it's awful. It's just, look at this mess. Can you, is it focusing? It's, okay, well. And this is from very, very minimal wear. I literally just sit here and wear them, and I go to the toilet and I come back here. I don't wear these in socks or anything, so that's pretty awful in my opinion. Otherwise, pattern is great. Circle socks by Person. And the other yarn is Brooklyn Handspun. So I've got some other yarns from them here. This is the remaining skein. I might gift it, give it away, make mini skeins of it. Who knows, but they turn out to some really awesome socks, because this limestone colorway that I used of Cascade really blends into the Persephone colorway here. So although I didn't like this colorway as much to begin with, it really blended in nicely and became some pretty cool socks actually. And I find myself wearing these quite a bit as well. The other pair of socks I'm just going to put a picture of here because I gave them away for my sister this Christmas. And they're made in Gjesdal Silja yarn. And it's by a pattern called Russesokker by these people, which was published in a book that they put together. And it's a good pattern, but maybe the fault is just that I used a sport weight rather than DK weight yarn. Possibly, but the heel was pretty awful in my socks. They became very small. It was a sort of afterthought heel where you just pick up the stitches in a similar way to that you do on a thumb when you're making mittens. And they just became really small, and I don't know why. So I had to compensate by making a longer foot so that that could sort of act as a part of it. It was really weird. So my sister loved them though, so that's good. Moving on. These socks, you guys, I've showed them to you before and I'm just more and more proud of them the more I look at them. And they're ready to be given away to one of my best friends from Norway who lives in Oxford now. They just look so freaking awesome, and I designed these myself, which makes me, it just makes me so proud. So it's a Judy's Magic cast on, lots of like Fair. I call these Fair because they're actually called Fair. They're from the Fair book by Marianne Muckelstrone, I think her name is. And just did that until I got to the Fish Lips Kiss heel, and then continued a bit more, though I did my sort of traditional short cuff with some 2x2 rib with some, I think we got some stretchy bind off here, yeah. So I might write this up into a pattern at some point if there's any interest in these. I just feel a bit nervous because I can't really write in the Fish Lips Kiss heel. It's paid for pattern, paid for technique, absolutely worth paying for. But I feel weird putting my socks up for as paid for a pattern, which I wish to do, when I can't put that bit in. So I'll have to teach myself to do the short row heel. That's not copyrighted, so still churning out ideas for that. But for now, very proud of these socks. And they're just made of a collection of scrap yarn from mostly Drop Fable, but also from this yarn. I'm gonna put it here because again, can't pronounce everything, can I? And lastly, we got the Cerberus socks that I've been working on lately that I just showed you. They're gonna be done by the end of the year. I am pretty confident that they will be. So altogether, if we count the stockings that were mostly made last year, we do have 6 socks. So that's something that I'm very proud of, given that I'm not a sock knitter. I might have a go at Woolen Vines socks, 12 socks in a box of socks cat. It's called Box of Socks Cat, I knew that. I might have a go at that next year, because if I end up making 12 socks, I will do that. But if I don't, I'm not going to push myself. Yeah. So first shawl that I made this year was a alpaca shawl. I'm just going to put in a picture here. It's so soft. It's made of Drops alpaca boucle, and which is a deliciously soft yarn, and my friend loves it. Yeah, very basic shawl pattern. It was the first shawl pattern I ever made years ago, and I made it a couple of times again, as you can see. It's just a triangle that you start off with very few stitches and you increase until you have a huge triangle. It has a very nice fit. I would absolutely recommend it if you're a beginner of shawls. I mean, you don't have to even go that simple, but if you want to, that's a nice shawl to make. And the pattern is by Drops Garn Studio as well as the yarn. So the other shawl that I made, which was a complete eternity project, is my Nuven shawl, and this is knit in wool mice lace, you guys. That was my like the first time I really spoiled myself with some really pretty yarn, and it kind of became more of a huge scarf than anything. And it's by Martina Bem, the pattern that is. Scarf, the shawl is by me, I did it. So if you like double, is like just a scarf, really. A gigantic stocking knit scarf, shawl, what have you, in lace yarn. And I don't know what I was thinking, like it's got more than 1,000 meters in it. You guys, so I just needed something very basic in stocking knit, because I like to bring my knitting to places where I can't think about what I knit. I just need to listen to whoever is talking. So it's really nice to just have this to bring along. And it's my favorite shade of red. It's a very vibrant red. Nothing looks vibrant in this lighting, but you guys, you just have to believe me that it is. It's sort of slightly tonal as well, and kind of kind of blood red, can I say that? It's brighter maybe, but it's got the same hue. Is hue the word? I hope that's the word. So that definitely got me started with shawls, even though the end of it was kind of not too pleasurable, because you end up with a lot of stitches in the round, because you start off just by the center and you go around and that's like the whole shawl in the end. That was a lot of stitches to bind off, you guys. So after that I was ready for something a bit simpler, and someone was very kind and gifted me Madeline Tosh sock yarn, which again, never gone near any yarn like that before. It's a bit of a treat for me, and I made this other Martina Bem shawl which is called Trillion. Had to think there. And it became also a bit more like a scarf in the end. I thought, I guess I wanted it to be wider here, this way, but it just become something I wear more like, sorry reindeer, like this, you know, which is fine. I just, if I need a scarf I will wear this, not if I want to wear a shawl. Yeah, don't really have much to say about this. It's just like a very nice return to garter stitch, which I have been shunning ever since I started knitting, because garter stitch is very much the beginner's stitch, isn't it? Focus, yeah. So for me it was sort of linked to kind of an amateur knitter's look, and I definitely changed that this year, and I'm obviously more fond of garter stitch again. It's super nice and squishy. I just had to associate that look with something a bit more, I guess, skilled. But of all the shawls that I made this year, this is the one I find myself wearing every day. And it's Andrea's shawl by Kirsten Kapoor. And you guys, I just made this in like the cheapest yarn possible. It's in drops yarn, drops alpaca for the grey, drops delight for the sort of ever so color changing yarn. And I just wear it like this. And this is the best. I wear this every time I leave the house nowadays, which is a shame because I made all the very nice and useful shawls and scarves. It's just everything that I wanted, except maybe wanting it to be a bit bigger. And this is something you need to be aware of if you're gonna make this shawl for yourself. It's that it comes in, I think, 2 or 3 sizes, and this is the large one, the largest of them all. And it's not particularly big. I mean, it's not tiny, but I would expect this to be a medium or small. So if there's a shawl that's smaller than this, like, it just comes around here when I'm wearing it like this. So if it's small, it's just gonna like hang over here, and that's, if you want that, then by all means, but if not, then don't make the small one. I do also have a whip of shame, and I knew this was going to be one of those projects that's just gonna linger, and that's fine. It's just going to be something that I will pick up when I want to make something very complicated. And it's a lace shawl. I'm even mid-row here. It's a shame. It's called the flower, what's it called? Echo Flower Shawl. And I made this in fiber spade scrumptious lace in this lovely burgundy. Am I showing it the wrong? I am. I keep showing you things the wrong way. I'm sorry, guys. So it's got this flower pattern going on here now. It is very repetitive, but I still can't seem to learn how to do it. So just bear with me. I will pick this up whenever I'm ready for something very complicated that needs my absolute full attention. Then I'm ready for it. But for now, I am okay with having this as a whip. It doesn't need to be finished for anything in particular. It was just me wanting a very solid challenge. And then of course there is the Spindrift shawl that I just showed you, and it's the Duchess of Devonshire shawl. So counting all the complete shawls all together, I believe that's 5 shawls. 5 complete shawls and 2 shawls in progress. That's pretty good going, I think. I'm okay with that. I'm gonna try to make more shawls in the coming year, just because it's nice. It's a nice way of using the fancier yarns and sort of getting to learn how to knit back and forth, because as someone who's Scandinavian, I just knitting around for just about everything. So I'm completely useless when it comes to knitting back and forth. I'm like, slip stitch, do I not, how do I, why would I do that? So that's just, it's kind of funny how I'm so completely clueless about these things, yet I know other things really well. So that's why I'm doing it. shawls, more shawls to come in 2017. So for home accessories this year, I actually don't have a picture, so I'm just going to include a picture from last year, because I had to make more of these Christmas balls for my aunt because she came to visit me in London in May. So I guess in April, possibly March, I was knitting tons of these for her. I say tons, I made another 6 that were in red and white. These are in black and white, so that she wanted to buy them off me, which was super lovely of her. So that was my first project, I guess. I believe I used Drops Saffron, which is a fingering weight cotton yarn, and the pattern is of course by Anna and Carlos, the Christmas balls pattern, which is basically a book, but you can also get that pattern as a mini version, smaller balls, the ones that I just showed you, as a free pattern. Ooh, I am talking really today, I'm really sorry, it's just a lot going on, a lot to cover, and yeah, let's just continue. I also made some pot holders for this lovely new flat chair. Just include a picture of those here as well. And either I used Drops Paris or I used Søstrengrene Anna and Clara's bomullsgarn, which is a Danish stuff and things shop. Their yarn, which is also fingering weight cotton. I just used that and Drop Saffron interchangeably because they are fairly similar. So these pot holders are now in the kitchen. I'm too lazy to get them, but you have a picture and you've seen them before. And there's also a free pattern for these on Ravelry by me. I also made this pillow. So this pillow is supposed to be made by 2 strands of fingering weight yarn or soft spot weight yarn, but I just used Drops Big Merino, which is sort of DK, and that was fine. The only thing I regret is that this bottom here is a bit slouchy. Didn't need to be that long really. I tried to like increase the height of this pillow because pillow filling is higher, but I didn't really need to do that. So the pattern is by Sannes Design, but the yarn is, as I said, Merino Extra Fine by Drops, and pillow is by IKEA. So I also made a girlfriend market bag when I was home in Norway, and that bag is still in Norway, so I can't really show you, but I have a picture, and it's just a really lovely quick knit where you just knit 2 stitches together, yarn over, knit 2 stitches together, and then you knit the next round, and you do that in the round until you make the handle, and it's just super easy. The only thing that's a bit difficult is when you begin and you make the flat bottom of the bag, but even that you can do. It's just a bit fiddly. Of course you can do it. So yeah, I'm probably gonna make more of those because it's a very convenient thing to have and to gift, and just kind of nice when you just have lots of fairly heavy yarn that you don't know what to do with. I certainly have a bunch of Drops Paris yarn that I still need to use, and that's why I used for this bag. So overall, for like home decor, interior stuff, I have 4 to 5, given how you count the Christmas balls that I made in the beginning of the year and the end of the year. It certainly is less than I've done previous years, but I've just had fun making stuff for myself to wear, which is really cool. And I've not had to be that fussed about gifting stuff for all my family members, where I can't be bothered to make stuff for them to wear because they tend not to wear them. So it's just been more me stuff this year, which has been pretty awesome. So let's talk about hats. I'm not very good with hats. We've covered this before. They either turn out too big or too small, but we're gonna go there anyway. Just turn off the light back there. That looks a lot nicer, doesn't it? And my light now is a bit better as well. Anyway, I started off this hat by making a I started off this year by making a alpaca hat. So this hat came out, and I don't know how I feel. It's purple. It doesn't really look purple here at all, does it? Well, this looks more violet on the camera anyway. It's purple, take my word for it. It's alright. You hold 2 strands of Drops alpaca together, which is like a fingerings of sport weight-ish yarn, and knit that in the round until you get to the top, and it's a sort of nice slouchy hat. Bit too small for me, but I'm thinking of gifting it to a friend of mine. So this hat, a bit too big for me, but I love it anyway. It is my size, but because it's alpaca, it's just sort of expanding as alpaca does. So I don't really mind because I like a good slouchy hat. And this is also in Drops Alpaca, and the pattern is Sockhead Slouch Hat, which is a very, very famous pattern on Ravelry. I'm sure you've made 10 yourself. I've certainly made another one. This hat, which is in this opal yarn that I was given by a watcher and friend of the podcast. It's really weird, but I love it anyway. It's just like the colors are so not me, but yet they fit me really well, and despite that I wish to give this away, but I don't know to who, because I don't know who will go for something as crazy as this, but I feel like it's a really good gift nonetheless, so I'm thinking about that. Yeah, let's just move on. And this hat I did. Yay! So you can look on my Ravelry project page for this. It's just, you can follow it from there. I didn't end up making a pattern for it. I'm sorry. I might do that maybe for next year when people would want to make these again, or maybe people want to have more time to make them. I'm not sure. There has been some interest expressed in having this pattern as a pattern. And it is fairly basic, so if you're really in a hurry you can just look at the project page for this. If not, it might just be a free pattern at some point. But otherwise, it's made in Sandnes Sisu, which is a sort of fingering weight, borderline sport weight sock yarn, in that it does have nylon. It's Norwegian yarn, it's very nice. I made cardigans with it as well and got nothing bad to say about it, really. I have decided to keep mittens for last, so now we're just gonna cover the second to last category, which is garments, which is generally jumpers and cardigans. Now the first cardigan is the Epistrophe cardigan by Kate Davis, but having said that though, I really just steeked it this year. I knitted this last year, but I had to go home to Norway for Christmas to have my mum so generously sew and cut open the steek, basically. I might have done the cutting, I don't know, but she can use a sewing machine and I can't. So I just did the buttons, basically, the button bands and stuff. The rest was done the year before, and it's made in Drops Baby Merino. It's again patterned by Kate Davis, who I will recommend to anyone who wants to knit anything that's just color work and loveliness and shawls, aka haps. I could go on and on about Kate Davis. We'll leave that for another episode, but otherwise I just love this so much. The other cardigan that I also just did steeking for this year, but primarily knitted in 2015, is the Eleanor cardigan by the Needle Lady, also known as Pinnigoody. It looks better when it's on me actually and buttoned up, because now it just has a sleeve on the inside out apparently. I cropped it. It's not supposed to be cropped, but I did that, so I did it sort of waist fitting as well. I got nothing bad to say about this pattern. I absolutely love the continuous cast on method. Not cast on method, but like a knitting jumper method where you start in the back and you increase towards the shoulder, etc. Talked about this many times because I really do love this cardigan. Unfortunately it's just in Norwegian, but if you do understand Norwegian, I do recommend knitting yourself a cardigan like this, or any cardigan in the continuous method, because it's a really interesting method. So sorry I'm keeping those cardigans a bit short because they're technically not 2016 knits. What was, however, was this little adorable set that I made for baby of two friends of mine that was born very recently, and when I heard the news that they were expecting, I just made them this adorable Marius jumper and hat. Also made in Drops Baby Merino because I went berserk in their annual May sale, so had to knit that up. Yeah. It's just a standard Marius pattern by Sandnes Design. They're behind every Marius pattern because they got the sort of copyright for it, and yeah, it just turned out alright. Yeah. Now this is quite the story. This jumper I made for my boyfriend this summer, shortly before I started this podcast, which is why I've not really mentioned it, I think. And he loved it, which is so nice. I didn't expect him to actually want to wear it, but he just kept wearing it and bringing it everywhere, and despite it being 30 degrees, he would just like take it with him, and that's how he lost it. Because you can't really wear it when it's 30 degrees, and it just fell off him or off his bag or whatever somewhere up in Hampstead, and he was just devastated, poor thing. So assuming this is not like a very cunning plan to just get rid of awful knitted jumpers from his girlfriend, I made him another one for Christmas this year, and that was my big secret that I've been talking about throughout this podcast almost. But let's just put in a picture of it here, because he was very happy to receive it. It was like 2 days ago since he opened the package, and he was like I didn't even hear him say anything. It was just like, and I was for a bit like concerned. I was just gonna think it was the same jumper that I've mysteriously found, but no, he realized I'd made it again, and he was very happy, and so very nice. So the pattern is by Verdis Jonsdottir, and it's an Icelandic jumper. She's Icelandic, and she makes lots of lovely Icelandic jumper, and I have a whole book of them. And although I will vouch for scratchy yarns because of their durability and how they will soften up, I can't knit with let lope yarn. That's where my threshold is. I can't go there. So I just went with Cascade 220, which is a very similar yarn in many respects in terms of meter edge and weight, and it's fine. I did it for both jumpers, and just a very lovely affordable yarn that works for them if you have some scratchiness issues with let lope. But do try let lope because they do have amazing colors. They really do. I want to try them at some point, maybe at a slightly smaller, less skin sensitive project. I'm gonna have a think about that. But for now, there's just so many things I want to say about these jumpers. I might just talk a bit about how I constructed them before I move on to the next few garments. I do a very weird thing where I cast on a provisional cast on here just before the pattern of the yoke. So just after you've joined sleeves and the body. This is just a straw-bought jumper, but I'm just going to show it to you here because this is essentially the same type of design. So just before here, I cast it on. I knit the yoke pattern up, assuming this is a bottom up jumper, and I knit it up here, finish this whole neckline and everything. Then I pick up the provisional cast on and I separate to sleeves and body. I do unravel sometimes the first couple of rows because the gauge there tends to be a bit wonky. Then I knit down and I make it fit me if it's for me and my waist and hip waist ratio. But if it's for my boyfriend who it's just there, I just knit for as long as it needs to be. And some friends of mine had a little girl a couple of years ago now. I think she's like 1.5 years, but because she was turning 1 year this summer, I decided to make her a cute little cardigan, a little yoke. Excuse me, I don't like my camera now. So this yoke, it's called Bøvertun, which is also something I said in a very English way, Bøvertun, which is a sort of Norwegian cardigan that's been a big hit the later years because lots of old vintage cardigan patterns have been recycled lately and people are sort of bringing them back up, and it's really cool to see. And so I just decided to make this one in bright red, and it's just super cute and it already fits her, which is awesome, and she looks so cool in it. It's made in Drops by Merino again because I just went crazy in the Drops sale this May. Had some issues with sewing on the bands on the inside of the steek because I don't normally do that and I'm terrible at sewing. Otherwise, it was a pleasure to make. So right after that, I decided to make a fairly involved project. Not that it was difficult, it was just under a lot of time pressure. Because I just asked my mom like, oh, you never want what I knit, and she was like, well, I wouldn't mind a jumper that isn't too warm and isn't too this and too that. And like, I was just, oh, if you want me to make a jumper, find me a pattern and buy me the yarn that you will wear. Because she's not yet wore the buttercup alpaca jumper I made 2 years ago. So anyway, back to this jumper. We went to the new yarn shop that's open in this mall, and mom does her grocery shopping, and got this Dale Lerche yarn, which is just amazing. This cotton merino blend in a soft sport weight that you can use as a DK certainly. And I quickly knitted up this jumper. It's called Sørlandskofte, which is Southern Norway cardigan essentially, but you can make a jumper version of that, and I just did the yoke. I didn't do any pattern for the body because it was under time pressure because I had to finish it during the summer while I was home in Norway, but before I went back to London so that she could receive it. And I did everything except weaving in the ends, and I, fingers crossed, my sister did that for me before she wrapped it up and I gave it to Mom for Christmas, but I wasn't home for Christmas, so hopefully she will have received it. And well, I know she did, and she liked it, and it fits just right, she said. But yeah, it was interesting to make super quickly. Colorwork yoke doesn't take too long. I really enjoy doing that, and after that you just do stocking knit stitch down. It was a top down jumper, which is really nice. That's some of the things they do when they convert the old cardigan patterns into new one, as they've done here as well, is changing some of them into top down so that you can knit them in a sort of modern way, I guess. And yeah, it was fairly quick once I was done with the color work, although the color work went fairly quickly as well. So all in all, it was a very enjoyable knit, and I did find Dahlia, though a bit splitty, to be very pleasurable to knit with. So fingers crossed my mom will actually wear this one, because I don't know. So turned inside out here, we have a jumper that you've had the pleasure of seeing many times, and it's my first proper Marius jumper for me, not for anyone else, but for me. I have made a Marius cardigan before, and I also have made another Marius jumper like this one, and I'm just mentioning it now partly because I forgot to start off with it, and partly because it was a 2015 whip, because I started this a couple of days before last New Year's Eve, and I finished it within 2 fairly knit-wise stressful weeks. And it was this Marius jumper for my sister, which I made in Cilia, and it's the exact same pattern as this one, which is just by Sanne's design as ever. So you got a picture of the one for my sister and this one for me, and this one took a lot longer than the one I made for my sister, just because I had more time. But I do know my sister likes her a lot, and I certainly like mine a lot. Mine is made in Drops Baby Merino, that's about the only difference. Yeah, I love knitting Marius's, and that's something I can do really quickly. It doesn't matter that it's color work. I know that pattern, like I've done it so many times. I might just do a own little special episode for that. Yeah, definitely, most likely something I'll venture into again. I think if I get my hands on some navy colored Wollmeister lace, I might do a lace weight one, but still in this stitch count gauge, because I think that will work well. It's just something that's churning around in my head. I'm supposed to talk about this one, but yeah, moving on. I finished my other Marius jumper. I think this is the last Marius of the year, and it's for a friend of mine. She received it for Christmas. She was very happy about it, which I am very happy that she was, because it's not the least scratchy yarn that I used, but I made sure to use the softest yarn for the neck and the sleeves, like just the cuff. So I think it will be good, and she goes to northern Norway quite a bit on the coast, which you will need warm jumpers for, so I think she was happy about that. Yeah, I made it in Sanne's fritidsgarn, which is, I guess, leisure time yarn or spare time yarn, if you want to translate that. And it's just a very feltable yarn, but I didn't use it for felting here. It's like a bulky let lopey, kind of. Yeah, and as usual, patterned by Sanne's design. I did do the weird construction method again, where I cast things on the provisional cast on right in between. Although this time it was because I was playing yarn chicken, so I had my sister bring another few skeins here when she was here in the autumn, so it didn't become a cropped jumper as I feared it would be. So that's 10 to 8 garments this year, depending if you count the ones with steeks, that I just did the steeks this year. It's 10 if you count those, it's 8 if you want to count just above the whole jumper slash cardigan, which is insane. That's like, it's very close to one a month, but then again some of them were like baby child size, so I guess it's not crazy. Still though, that's like 6 adult-sized ones. It's one every other month if you want to think about it that way. So I guess I'm fairly proud about that, although feeling a bit sort of shameful for knitting that much. I'm sure you all know the feeling. But it's kind of nice to think about, because you know I have a lot of cardigans in my queue for this year, and it looks like that might be realistic now. If there aren't even 6, and if I can do 6 a year, then hey. Okay, so I hope you guys are still with me, because I saved the best for last if you ask me, and that's my mittens. I made a crazy amount of mittens this year. I think I made 14 pairs, if I counted that right. It also includes mitts. I count them as the same. I don't make tiny mitts, they're fairly sized. Anyway, let's just get into it. So this was the first pair that I made. It's called Gullfugl, i.e. the gold bird, which is from the fairy tale mitten collection by Vottelauge. I'm just gonna put in the picture of the book and also the picture of the original mittens, because I wanted the yellow to be a bit more golden like those, and I thought that was the colorway I went for when I bought this, but apparently I went for something a bit more yellow. So not exactly the colors I wanted, but they're still pretty cool. Although I tend to refer to them as the gold goat, because it kind of, the face is a bit goaty to me. They were really nice to knit, and they fit surprisingly well, given that there's no thumb gusset. It's more of a sort of Latvian style thumb that's just popping out of nowhere. The lace cuff though was very loose in the beginning, so I actually just cut the yarn here and unraveled them this way, which was really difficult because you're doing increases that just don't allow for that. And then I knitted it again, bottom up, and Kitchener stitched it back on. And I'm not even sure which of these mittens I did it on, because you can't really tell. So that turned out well. It was a bit of a pain at the time, but you know, time heals all wounds, and I feel like these are quite lovely. I've not worn them once, so if these are to become gifts or something to sell at some point or whatever, I don't know, but I like them. And as I said, I think I said it, it's Roma Finul mittens, which is just, I can't complain about Roma Finul, guys. It's just perfect if you want to do color work mittens. It really is. And second, from the same book, it's Soria Moria by Tori Seierstad, and I make these in Viking Northern Lights, known as Nordlys because it's Norwegian. And it's a very nice sock yarn actually. It's got nylon in it, but it's 1 ply, so it kind of felt sometimes when you, it's superwash, so it doesn't actually felt, but if you're unraveling it sort of sticks a little anyway, which is really nice. It's an effect that you won't normally get with superwash. So these actually turn out really nice, even though I'm using a crazy soft yarn that's superwash. So it's definitely a yarn I would recommend for people who are very scratch sensitive and want to use amazing colors. And these have a delightful fit on my hands, except for the cuff, which is a bit tight, but it stays on once it's on. And this is just one thing I want to say about Tori's patterns for mittens, is that they always fit my hands to the point. They just, we must have identical hands, that's all I can figure out, because this is the ideal size. I was a bit worried about these because they seem to be blue all the way, and I was like, oh, and now they're just turning a bit green, they're not gonna be the same. But then I got a bit of yellow, and I feel like that's enough. Third up that we have is a pair of mitts that I kind of sort of designed myself. I took the chart from some Latvian mittens and I put them on some mitts that I just kind of came up with myself, and I gave them to a friend of mine who's also from the same town as I am and lives there, so that she in return can send me some Norwegian goodies that I'd missed, like marzipan whales and mackerel in like little portion packs I can put on my bread, and like salty licorice, stuff like that. You can relate if you are Norwegian. I just missed those things, so she gave me that in return, and that was like the best trade, I think. The yarn I used is Rico Design DK for the white, and the grey is Drops Baby Merino. So playing around a bit with fingering weight and DK in the same pattern, which is not ideal, but they're close enough that it really it went alright, and she really liked them, and they just fit her needs and the size of her hands, and all was well. So there was another pair of mittens that I also don't have here, which I'll put here, and these are designed by Pinnegudi, aka the Needle Lady. It's part of her Fire fine fruer og en herremann, which means for fine ladies and a gentleman, I guess. And there's just a set of lace mittens that you can make in Quince & Co. Chickadee yarn, if you will, but I just used Drops Baby Merino again because I just had so much of it, and they turned out okay, so I made a second pair, and they are likely to face the frog pond, and that's simply because they are just too tiny. But I'm just gonna keep them around in case I find a friend who has tiny hands, or I want to learn from these as well, so I don't end up making the same size again, because I really do want to knit up this pattern again because it looks stunning. It really does. It might be something for my Wensleydale, but it's just a bit too drapey for that, so I'm not sure if lace is right, but maybe it is, because I've done lace with alpaca and that was nice, and that's drapey. I'm thinking out loud, you guys, but this is how my thought process is when I'm thinking about what to knit with the yarn that I have. So back to the Frue pet mitten. They fit me really nicely, but I don't have them here because I gifted them to one of my friends in Germany. Now for some hardcore Norwegian mittens, which is from Terry Shia's book on Norwegian mittens, Sarbu mittens. Bit of controversy there because they're actually not from Sarbu, but they look just like mittens from Sarbu, but they're technically from southern Norway. I don't really care, but they look awesome. So I made this in Hillesvåg, also known as Hifa yarn, in Ask. And it's a sport to fingering weight, pure wool, purely from Norway. It's one of those rare ones that really are Norwegian. And I always think that's worth looking for, whether you're looking for purely Norwegian, purely Swedish, purely English, just so that you can support local produce that hasn't traveled the world to become the yarn that you want it to be. I think is really important. So just want to show you these again, and the back side, and everything about these are perfect. The cuff is possibly a bit tight because I wanted to really make sure I didn't have the issue with the other lace cuffs from the Goldbird mittens, so I kind of overcompensated here, but they're not gonna fall off, I'll tell you that much, though they might be torn in half by the time I've pulled these off my hands for the 100th time. But yeah, very, very happy and proud over these. So much so that I made another pair of mittens in the same yarn, because with those two skeins of white and red, like one skein of each, you can actually make 3 pairs of mittens, just about. So I made another pair. I believe it's from the same book, and it's all the spider mittens. I do not remember everything about all the stuff I made, so I'm putting it all here. You may have noticed by now. They turned out really nice. I am so happy with these. Again, well, these have a stranded color work cuff, so they don't sit on as well as the other ones, but they fit, so can't really complain there. But it would be nice if there was something a bit more stretchy that would hold them in place, but that's just a minor detail really. I still do love these a lot. Made both of those pairs to potentially sell them, but I just can't rid myself of the stuff I've knitted. I get very attached, and unless I know when I'm making it that it's going to be for a specific person, I can't separate myself from it. Does anyone relate to that at all? Please tell me I'm not the only crazy one. Another pair of mittens that I made, it's the Totoro mittens that I just gave to my friend and flatmate. Just gonna put a picture here. It's a free pattern on Ravelry called Norwegian Totoro mittens, and yeah, I made them in Drops Lima again because crazy drop sale. I'm a crazy person. Nice, perfectly nice pattern. I made this is the 3rd time I'm making it. Also, it's been made for friends of mine every time because people love Totoro apparently. So maybe I'll make them for myself at some point, but it's a really nice pattern because similar to my own Sarbu DK pattern, which we're going to get to in a bit, it knits up very quickly. So if you want to have a good practice at some color work mittens and you can't bear waiting for my pattern, which will come soon, I promise, that's something to start at. It's really good. And it's time for some mitts, and these are designed by Kate Davies, but they're knit in the Marfinul because that works. Struggled a bit with finding the right colors for it, but I think I did, so this is likely to become a yoke as well. So I'm gonna make a jumper that matches these in every way. I'm gonna use the exact same yarn. I did choose more faded colors than she did, but they are corresponding. I didn't come up with anything too radical here because I did really love the jumper that she came up with. And they're called Miss Rachel's gauntlets. And all the information that you need about that is of course in the pattern, but also in my project page in terms of what I did specific to it. But I don't think there's anything too weird that I did. This is true for everything that I've done so far. If there's anything special about them that I haven't mentioned in this episode, just go to my project page on Ravelry. I obsessively update my Ravelry project pages, so you will likely find it there. I seem to have misplaced a mitten, but I have the other one, and you've seen this so many times, I'm sure it's not going to be too much of an issue. But this one is, I guess, my first design that I plan to publish. I was going to do it within the year, but I might not. If I do, I will be sure to announce that in my new Ravelry group. And of course here eventually, but you know, news travel a bit quicker in the group, possibly on Instagram as well. They're made in Susan Crawford's Excelana DK. They knit up very quickly. They are fairly snug on my medium to large hands for women's size. So I made another pair which fits a little bit better. I'm just going to show you what they look like. So I used Blacker yarn, Falkland Islands on this, another DK yarn. This one is in Merino, though not superwash I believe. And this size is perfect for me, so hopefully it will be perfect for you as well if you have my size of hands anyway. Can't complain about these at all, which is nice to be able to say given that I made it. So I'm very happy that people who have done my classes have knit this up really nicely. I've seen some of them finished, posted online, and it's just it's so nice to hear that they work, that people can understand the pattern, especially because they had some errors in it that I am about to fix. That's why the pattern isn't up yet. Yeah, I just kind of become a bit so dreamy about them that I just accomplished that. And the intent with these, I say I've designed them like as if that's a big deal, because these look like the most generic Serbi mittens ever, and that's the intent, because I want them to have the look of the mittens that come from this particular village, because I want them to look authentic whilst being easy to make for a beginner. That was the idea with these. That's why they are special. And lastly, I'm just gonna put a picture here, you guys, because you've seen these before, and I finally finished my advent calendar mittens. They took me a year. More than a year, come to think of it, just a bit more than a year. Knit in Cascade 220 fingering weight yarn, very fine, very lovely, affordable yarn. Definitely recommend for color work. If you want to make these mittens, use that, or use the recommended Knit Picks palette for that matter. I'm sure it's equally good. I'm just so relieved to be done. They were a pleasure to make, but they also weighed me down a lot because they took ages, and I was very nervous about finishing them in time, although I was fairly confident as well. I could go on and on and on, but it's overall a fantastic pattern that's for free, gives you the best Christmas decor ever. I'm just gonna show you. Hang on. They are up here. Can you see them? Yes? Okay, good. Putting this back in place. We're going off the script today, guys. And lastly, I promise we're done now, you guys. Lastly, we have these, which are my other advent calendar mittens, in the sense that these were Mr. Cal by Tori Seierstad. Again, her patterns, her mitten patterns fit me perfectly. So we got a piece of the pattern every day before Christmas in December, and I love them. Absolutely love them. I'm gonna wear these all Christmas, and I'm not showing you, I think, but in the hand it says Merry Christmas in lots of languages, and it's the same thing on the other hand. Maybe you can find your own language here. So that was fun taking part of, and I'm most likely to take part next year as well, assuming I'm not going to be too crazy busy with gifts, but who knows. so that was it, you guys. I'm not like I can't. It's been a crazy knitting year. It's definitely been my most productive knitting year ever, which is not the best news for my degree, but otherwise I'm proud and I'm happy, and just I've learned so much. When I look at the stuff I made earlier this year, I know stuff that now I know stuff that I would have thought about then but didn't, and partly it's because I've done that project and I now know lots of things, and that's what knitting is, and it's great. And hopefully this will have inspired you. Maybe you can see the progress I made in a year. If not, I'm sorry I didn't make any progress. But yeah, I am happy if you stuck with me so far throughout the podcast. I am done now. This has been a extremely long episode. I am very grateful if you're still watching, and I'm not blaming you if you're not paid full attention, or if you happen to be one of those people not watching anymore. That's a bit, I don't know how to address that. So I will see you in the next year, next week. I don't know actually if it's gonna be next week, because like I said, gonna be on the mountains without any Wi-Fi, but I will film it for you, post it whenever I can. Maybe we'll get 1 week with 2 episodes, one with just 1. I don't know, but thank you for being part of this amazing year for me. Hopefully you will have had a good year subjectively, despite its few hiccups objectively, to put it mildly. And I hope you will have had a lovely holiday. Whatever, focus there. I hope you will have had a lovely holiday so far, that your new year will be amazing, that you will be with loved ones, if that's what you wish, of course. And happy knitting, happy new year, goodbye.